We talked about one way to make your way visually to the airport on an IFR flight. That is called the contact approach, which has nothing to do with the little things we wear on our eyes to help us see the airport. The problem with the contact approach is that you have to request it. And then, when you get it, it can leave you groping around in crummy weather trying to find the airport, even if you have those little things on your eyes. Well, a visual approach is similar to a contact approach, but it's a much more common and safer way to expedite yourself to the airport. Now, you can only fly a visual approach when the airport is reporting at least 3 miles visibility and a 1,000-foot ceiling. If a weather report is not available for the airport, ATC must be reasonably confident that you can descend and land at the airport visually. Now, you can request a visual approach, or more commonly, ATC can clear you for the visual approach without your asking. Before they clear you for the approach, however, they will ask if you have the airport in sight, or sometimes they will ask if you have the preceding airplane in sight. And it's a good bet that that airplane is going to the airport because, well, folks, that's where airplanes live. If so, your clearance will go something like this. Cleared for a visual approach runway 24, maintain visual separation with the Boeing 737. Once you accept that clearance, the controller is no longer responsible for either lateral or wake turbulence separation from the preceding aircraft. You are. So if you lose visual contact with the aircraft, you must tell the controller immediately. It is not safe or legal to continue, hoping that you will find the preceding aircraft again. Because, folks, you may accidentally find it and end up so close that you can actually watch the in-flight movie playing on that 737. Now, since any clearance is an agreement between you and ATC, you don't have to accept a clearance for a visual approach if you're not comfortable with it. For example, when you accept a clearance for a visual approach, you're making a promise to keep the preceding aircraft or the airport in sight. If you have any doubt about being able to do so, you should not accept the clearance. Also, while you don't have to meet the VFR cloud separation rules, you have to be able to remain clear of the clouds. If you don't think you can do that, once again, you should not accept the clearance. But if you can accept a clearance for a visual approach, you'll help speed the flow of traffic to the airport and do yourself and the controller a big favor. Sometimes a visual approach is formalized and printed and included in the book of approach charts. When that happens, it's called a charted visual flight procedure. A visual approach is typically charted when there's a lot of traffic using it, and there's some reason, such as noise abatement, why they want airplanes to follow a certain path over the ground. This is the Columbia visual approach to runway 10 left and right at Portland, Oregon, which is nothing like its much older predecessor, the pre-Columbian approach. Nevertheless, this approach looks similar to a typical instrument approach chart, but it has you following a visual path rather than an electronic path. It shows you the landmarks you need to fly the approach, in addition to any other information you need to complete it. You follow the Columbia River to the airport, so they show the river on the chart, which is pretty helpful in case you forgot what water looks like. And to help guide you to the river, you follow the 276 radial to the Portland VOR DME as shown on the chart. The recommended altitude at 8 DME is 2,500 feet. When you cross the bridge just before the airport, if you're landing on runway 10 left, the recommended altitude is 1,400 feet, the idea being to go above, not under the bridge. The notes near the bottom tell you that radar is required, and that you'll need at least a 3,500-foot ceiling and 5 miles visibility for this charted visual approach. You can also see that the approach is not approved for night operations. That's because the landmarks you use aren't visible at night. After all, it's dark at night, and that's why we have shins, which are devices we use to find furniture in the dark. Charted visual flight procedures like this will only be used at airports with an operating control tower and are primarily designed to be used by turbojet aircraft. It's that noise abatement thing again. As you can see, visual approaches, whether charted or not, are just one more way for pilots and ATC to make more efficient use of an airport when the weather cooperates.